Okay. Apologies for the slight technical issue. Um, yeah, something just got extremely confusing as to where I was actually streaming live. So I am back now, and hope to bring the action to you as best as I can. Very good point in time, I think, to talk about this Azerbaijan Grand Prix circuit. Baku City circuit, as on board right now with Schumacher 1, who hustled the VRT drivers very, very much in that final, in those final few laps last time out in Austria. But now I think it's a good opportunity as Tails has unfortunately already disconnected and is back in the pit lane. It's a good opportunity to be taken on board with a lap of the Baku City circuit. Schumacher now running up to the first DRS zone, actually the longest straight on the Formula 1 calendar, 2.2 kilometers, 17 corner circuit here, 6.006 kilometers long as he heads into turn 1. A lot of 90-degree corners coming up now around the 100-meter board. It's pretty late on the brakes, but actually does make it pretty well, does Schumacher for the WR team. Into turn 2, and McLaren has already found the escape road there, as he is looking to build up some tyre temperature now, trying to get this slight slipstream on the banker. My word, Schumacher almost crashing into the McLaren. Certainly wouldn't have been a good look. Now into turn 3. Clips this apex pretty nicely on the exit, doesn't get too wobbly there, which is pretty easy to do actually, particularly with that track not rubbered in properly just yet. Now about the 50-meter board, bit before that actually, gets on the brakes again. Fourth gear, third gear in between now, short shifts again to fourth as he heads into the tightest section on the Formula 1 calendar. Turn 7, now very, very slow here, he loses the rear end slightly. Now into turn 8, the castle section, as he now takes this pretty cautiously actually on this very first run, loses the rear. Oh, almost spins out, and that just avoids the barrier. There's Costinha, welcome to the chat. Indeed, very happy to see you again. But now, yeah, it's gonna have to, of course, check which drivers are coming soon. Sorry if I'm a bit rusty with the commentary. This is, again, the first time I'm doing lead commentary in quite a while. But yeah, Schumacher has not managed to get his lap right, and he's actually crashed into the back of the Red Bull. And now, yeah, Max Power gets a 5-second penalty. That's not a 5-phase grid penalty for that, which is just not fair. I do hope that the session, the quality session, gets restarted with those qualifying results. I mean, what is Schumacher thinking there? As he runs way, way too close to that Red Bull. But yeah, we're going to go now on board with Johan, who's one of the first to now go on a lap again in that Ferrari through the first sector. About the 100-meter board as he brakes for turn 3. Gets on that power nice and early. Fourth gear, actually, as he uses the most traction here. The same thing does the French driver, one of the fastest drivers, of course, of the AS1 Esports team. Now actually keeps fourth gear throughout this entire chicane section. And as you can see, that has enabled him to get some very nice traction as he heads down into turn 7. This tight right-hander is so deceptive on the exit, but he does get it right pretty well. As Benelori Tibe, first one with a competitive lap of 40.3 in that Williams, but I think I'm going to stay on board here with Johan, as I believe an Alpine coming across the line now. Slinky with a 40.0 sets the first proper lap here. 40.5 for Ace Mustache. Now we've got an Alfa Romeo crossing the line. That should be GTZ. One of the two, I think, starting lap there. Sieb with a 39.5, the newly signed WR driver, sets the pace for the moment by a margin over half a second at the moment. But now Johan out of this final king, turn 17, obviously all flat, and he's the next driver to cross the line now, the Ferrari man. AS1 Esports currently 5th in the standings, 14 points for the Ferrari outfit. Johan goes to the top by another half a second. Those gaps are looking very, very interesting so far. Jona would be the next to cross the line, but is not on a fast lap as it stands. Elliott, so Johan's teammate now, next to cross the line in that other Ferrari car. Can he match his teammate anywhere near? He cannot. Goes up to P5 for the moment. A Red Bull now crossing the line. The championship leaders, Max Power, 40.3. Maybe not what he would have wanted. Ace Grosjean next to cross the line along with a GSP driver there. But I think one of the more interesting ones to keep an eye on right now is Schumacher 1. No, actually, he's on an outlap. That looks to me like Williams colours, actually. Is that Benori Tibe? Yeah, I think he's run out of fuel there. So no lap, of course, coming right now. GSP Spicer is also not on a lap. I think it's Dadopad here who's the next one to cross the line. got an Alfa Romeo fairly close ahead of him, which could actually be GTZ Chico, who's also on a lap himself. As now into this final DRS zone, opens up that rear wing fairly soon. So does Dadopan. Picks up a nice toe actually here from the rear end of that Alfa Romeo. Chico 41.8, not competitive. Dadopan though 39.4. That's more like it. Schumacher 1 is crossing the line fairly soon to start his first proper hard lap after what happened with that other lap, which I don't really want to go to. Spicer is out. He has crashed in the castle section. If we go on board quickly with the McLaren of Grosjean, we might just catch it. Yeah, there he is. He has made a mistake. And yeah, coming out, or coming into that castle section rather, he has unfortunately knocked a wheel off his car, which is not what you want to see. That means he's going to be confined to the back of the grid for now. As I'm being told, the stream's pretty laggy. Is that the case for everyone? Can you please update me in the chat? Be very useful for me. I'd be surprised, to be honest, if it was, but yeah. I don't really think it's something I can avoid. Max Power now into the pits, following that Ferrari of one Elliott there. Ace Grosjean, is he on a fast lap? No, he's not. That looks pretty slow to me. That might actually be an out lap. As no, he goes over that white line. Not actually what you want to see, but at the same time, it is qualifying. Valerie Dennis really going on the limit here on his particular out lap. I think Chico there's run out of fuel. Perhaps so has Dadopad. We'll have a look now. No, Dadopad is still good. I think he's going to make it to the pit lane with just enough fuel. Yeah, chat, if you could tell me what the stream's looking like, because I've only got a message from one manager so far, which obviously would not be ideal if I had this lag over the whole time. But if that's the case for everyone else, then perhaps a stream restart after qualifying with slightly lower quality could do the trick. Benelari Dennis at the moment is on a flying lap. Currently 11 drivers have set a lap with just under half the session to go actually. 11 drivers so far on the timing sheets. And Benelari Dennis is looking to put himself on that timing sheet, but he spins coming out of turn 6. And what an angle we had of that. Benelari Dennis, the Williams there, cannot manage to set a lap just yet. And for now, everybody is on the outlaps, so I think at the moment there's not really much action going on. The first one who would be starting would be GTZ Mendes. Another one of 7 drivers who have not set a lap. One of them won't set a lap, in fact, with GSP Spicer there, who's crashed out fairly early on in that castle section. Behind that, we have the Alpine, I believe. That is JR Yona. No, that's his teammate, actually. Slinky. There's been a yellow flag there. Perhaps somebody who's ended up in the emergency exit. I think we're good, though. As, yeah, GTZ Mendes. One of the stronger performers so far, particularly off the first round, second round. Unfortunately, I haven't got too much info on that. There's an AlphaTauri actually spun around. That's Schumacher, who really has a very tough day in the office so far. The German driver, 18 drivers in this session. He's currently bottom of that 18 driver pile. Definitely not where he wants to be. Not after that round 1 victory, of course, that he had. He was holding on to so dearly against VRT's Max Power there in P2. Let's have a look now at GTZ Mendes' effort. Everybody headed out fairly quickly as well, so I wouldn't imagine a weather threat being inbound at this moment in time. Let's have a look. Mendes, 35.4 first sector. I think there should be more time in there realistically, but I think the gap between the teams is fairly big at times in this particular split. So let's have a look. Mendes, the Alfa Romeo, now into turn 8. The crucial section of this track, manages it pretty nicely actually. Stays in 3rd gear here, short shifts to 4th on the exit, I'd imagine. Yes, it does. Still gets some wheel spin though, so fairly unstable rear end of that Alfa Romeo car as he heads through this well. This is a very tough corner to get right as well. You see it so often in real life as well. Drivers getting caught out there on the outside barrier, but he manages it well. 15.9 just about. Goes deep into this final turn and spins. He's around, loses his wing. And yeah, another lap there down the drain. There's still 6 drivers haven't set a lap time. One of them has in fact come on the board there with Dennis, who's had a spin again though, it seems. So a really, really tough day in the office here. Now let's see one Johan there. There's a driver just about getting out of the way there. Johan is one of the next to cross the line, I believe. Sieb actually coming through there with a very good split time. He's currently on the 39.5, about 4:10 subs. So if he got a good final corner there, he might just be able to go provisional pole for WR Esports in his first outing. And he does not. He misses out. Lost a bit of time actually in that final sector. Daddlepad now coming across the line. Looks to me like an outlap, unfortunately. That's a shame. As Schumacher, he is now coming across the line. Goes to P4. 39.4, just 8 thousandths behind his German compatriot there, Daddlepad. Slinky into the pit lane, and Mercedes now crossing the line. That's Shako Bast with 43.5. He wants to get more than that for sure. Tails up to P7 for VRT. You've got a McLaren coming now. I believe that is Grosjean. Goes up to P5. Very, very close. The Moustache picks up a massive slipstream. P8 for the moment. It is for the French driver. We've got Max Power crossing the line. Goes up to third with a 39.3. Then we do have a Ferrari, I believe, one Elliott, who improves by 0.3, but cannot up his position. Or has he just started a lap? No, he has not started a lap, so that is one Elliott there in P8. His teammate, Johan, there in P1, picking up the 1 point that you do get for pole position. And now just 2 drivers without a lap, one of them who's still in the session, GTZ Mendes, and I would say at least 3 or maybe 4 more drivers with times that aren't particularly competitive. There's Shako Basuni for VRA, Benelari Dennis, not particularly with competitive laps. I would say Chico is in that range as well there with 41.8. So I believe he is actually on a fast lap right now. If I have a look at that ERS and how aggressive he's taking these turns, but he doesn't look accustomed to this challenge all too much at the moment, does he? So through this castle section, a pretty safe run actually. I wouldn't call this particularly fast. So at this moment in time, there's not really much more than we can do. Daddlepad has just gone fastest by almost 0.3 of a second. Completely missed that. Apologies there. Daddlepad to the top for GSP. Takes that 1 point away from As1 Esports. And by what margin? That is a fantastic lap. So this has been in the background. And Mercedes there has been around. One Elliott is not on another lap, I don't think. Tails has run out of fuel, so they're going to have to speed up a little bit on this very long track if they want to get another lap time in. Moustache is another one who will have to speed up. Chico is now coming to the line. 41.8 is his current lap. He improves to 41.2, but stays in his 13th position, so not particularly looking to be super competitive, but you never know what can happen in these races here. So I think Daddlepad, that is here, with a brilliant lap. Almost 0.3 clear of the rest. Very, very good stuff from the German driver. Ahead now of one Johan, who's already out of the pit lane. So as you can see, the final flurry of laps is already starting. And I think the first one to head onto this will be GTZ Mendes. Or perhaps the Alpine ahead of that. That would be Slinky, who's already out very early on. And is looking to get a lap time on the board. Juventus Racing, of course, haven't got off to the start they would have wanted. 16 points. They're trailing the top team of Victor's Racing Team currently by 28 points. But with only 2 rounds done and the stage ending after this race, this might just change and could be a change of fortunes for, well, what supposedly is this Town Factory Academy outfit, if you will. They've gained this reputation all over really the last few months. So, I mean, you can't really say anything bad about them. Really, really good development structure there. But I think Benelari Dennis has actually jumped the queue. He's ahead of everyone here as he starts his lap first, ahead of that Juventus Racing car. So look, Chico, I think, has run out of fuel. So indeed, it is Benelari Dennis who is going to be fronting this lineup. This driver heading out very late, actually. That is a Red Bull, which I believe is Tails. So very, very late there. I think he should make it to the line, but he's going to have about a reserve of 10 seconds or so. So Benelari Dennis, 2-minute 0.978 is his lap time at the moment, which is certainly something he would like to improve on. We can also have a look at Slinky, of course, fairly soon. Only 11th for him, I would imagine, is not very good. So he'll be looking to up his position. Daddlepad has retired, so he can't improve any further, of course. setting that 38.7 and already being in that pit lane. So we'll have a look now. Dennis improving by almost 3/10 in this first sector, 35.2. Fairly competitive split time, I will say. Gendo losing that rear end on the exit of turn 6. As he has now into turn 7, braking about 50 meters before the turn, goes a bit deep, hits the wall ever so slightly, and yeah, this car is looking very, very, well, definitely not on rails, if you will. So out of this castle, yeah, he's sliding around a lot. I really hope that he can sort this out for the race. But now look at this traffic jam in the final sector. I hope he doesn't fall victim to this, as a Slinky there, I think, is another one who's going actually really quick at the moment. He's half a second up, just the first sector in the 34s, in fact. So I think Dennis has a lot of time to make up. Well, 20.5 seconds. You can clearly see that was not a competitive lap. But now, very, very soon, he will be setting one. I think Slinky is actually lining up a slipstream here with his teammate Yona. So that would be very, very well done if they can manage to pull this off properly. Dennis coming to this line first. Let's have a look. Where can he slot that Williams car? Benelari Dennis into the 39s, into the 40s. P12 at the moment. We have to look at Slinky, who's 6/10 up. It's now getting a massive tow from his teammate. Yona is done. There's nothing more he can do. So Slinky, really to the benefit of his teammate. But Slinky only P5. I think he would have liked to go a bit higher than that. Chico's done as well. He can't complete his lap. But let's see, one Johan is another one. He's improving by about 3/10. Can he put this on pole? No, he can't. Misses out by about 700ths of a second. So still behind Daddlepad. But now we're going to have to look at everybody else. I think T-Bay is the next one to cross the line there for Benelari. The second Dutch driver, of course, in this lineup today. Let's have a look. 13th and 14th at the moment for Benelari. But T-Bay's improving by about 2.5 tenths. There is more time in there for sure. There's a McLaren coming up behind that. Is that going to be Mustache or Grosjean? It is Grosjean there, who's right behind on the racing track. Perhaps some mistakes that are being made in the middle sector could just be to the detriment of Schumacher right behind. Let's have a look. T-Bay crossing the line. Goes into P12, 40.1. I don't think that's really what he would have wanted. Grosjean in P6. He's finished. There's an AlphaTauri coming soon. Schumacher goes up to P3. So good effort from him. I think Mercedes is next up. Jaco Bass improving by 1.4 seconds. Stays 16th though. Ferrari there. One Elliott is done. Can't improve further. WRC is staying in 4th position. So second row Lockhart as it stands. We're thinking Mercedes coming up now, and a Red Bull. Tails goes up to P4, so splits the two WR drivers. As Mustache, I think, the next one to cross the line there, but it's not on a competitive lap as it looks. And I think that should be the end of this qualifying session, unless I have missed somebody here. But no, I think everyone's done. So your pole sitter is, in fact, from GSP Esports. And I mean, what a lap it was there from Daddlepad. Very, very good lap. 700ths clear in the end of Johan, but I think a restart might just be necessary due to that grip penalty for Max Power, which I wouldn't say is too deserved after that early collision in qualifying there with Schumacher, who was in qualified third actually. So as it stands right now, we have a checkerboard from 3rd to 6th between WR and VRT. Schumacher tails in 3 and 4, Sieb and Max Power in 5 and 6. Slinky in 7th, Grosjean in 8th, and then Elliott and Yona round out the top 10 for As1 Esports and Juventus Racing. In 11th, we find Ace Mustache, T-Bay in 12th, Mendez in 13th, Dennis in 14th, Benori, GTZ Chico in 15th, with Suni, Jaco Bass both for VRA, and the only driver not to set a lap, GSP Spicer, after crashing out in the castle section pretty early on. So GSP sandwich indeed, as Bearman says in the chat. 1 and 18, both GSP, the first and last driver on this lineup. And this should now be interesting. As, yeah, actually, my stream's not lagging apparently, so that's good. Thanks for that reassurance. And yeah, we head into the race. I've not had anything about the weather forecast, so to my knowledge, everything should stay dry. And, well, the screen is going to reveal fairly soon. I was wrong. And as you can see, there is rain, at least in the start of this race. What are we going to make of this? This is going to be very, very interesting. This is definitely an intermediate compound start. It is not enough standing water for the drivers to warrant going onto the full wets here. We can go quickly on the strategy screen to check this out. And yeah, indeed, everybody on the intermediates, no surprises there. And it looks like the grid penalty will actually stand the test of time. And we will be starting this session with Max Power starting down in P11, which obviously shuffles around that starting grid. Two WR drivers now up there who are sandwiching tails for Victor's Racing Team there in P4. Slinky moves up to 6th, Grosjean to 7th, Elliott to P8, Yona in P9. Ace Mustache is sliding into the top 10 here with that grid penalty hit against Victor's Racing Team. So now the countdown is running down. Mitsui saying no restart. Yeah, it's really down to the tier admin. So shame I would say it was probably a shame for the VRT esports team. I didn't really see much fault in that collision there in qualifying, but at the same time I've only caught the glimpse of it. So I guess we just have to live with the consequences for now. And I mean, Azerbaijan, always chaotic, and the drivers will know that, so we're now heading towards those 5 red lights. The Aston Martin up front, ahead of the Ferrari. Who gets the better start? It's lights out, and away we finally go. Dadopat gets a good launch for the moment. Johan is still in behind, and it looks like they have held position for the moment. Schumacher to the outside of Johan, looking like a very strong move here. Yes, indeed. Schumacher is currently up to 2nd. Will have to defend from Johan, though, on that inside of turn 2. Schumacher is through. Very good move there indeed from the German driver. Schumacher up to P2. Sieb is also gaining position on tails there. There's a lot of fighting going on behind. Elliott has got ahead of this melee. Slinky is on the inside of Ace Grosjean. Will this go well? Yes, it will, by the looks of it. Yes, indeed. Slinky up to P7. Yona in P9, getting overtaken by Max Power at the moment, who seems to have got a very good launch here. Slight collision between the two. Max Power, there's some wing damage there as well, we've seen on the bottom edge of the screen. But Max Power up to P10, gaining his points, and is now into those points bank positions. Oh, damage there. That looks like one Elliott to me. Or Tails, actually. It is Tails who has lost his front wing. So a nightmare start, it looks like, actually, for the Victor's Racing Team. For the moment, Grosjean looks to have some damage as well. An overtake into the castle section. Brilliant stuff from JR Yona. And Juventus Racing, 5th and 6th now. What a start from them. Grosjean P7. We're going to have to quickly enable the position changes here, as we've still got Dadopat in the lead. Very good stuff there. T-Bay is out. He lost it on the traction, he must have. And yeah, we get our first safety car of the race already, which gives me a little breather, in fact, because considering the volume levels that I'm having to operate on, this was a pretty hectic start. And yeah, safety car. I have got no information as to when this weather is going to ease up a little bit, or whether it will ease up at all. So Dadopat holding his lead for the moment. Schumacher making up the position on Johan, now 2nd and 3rd. Sieb gaining a position on Tails, goes up to P4. Slinky making up 1 position to P5. Yona in P6, 3 positions gained for the Dutch driver. Grosjean up to P7, in fact, held his position off the line. Max Power, one of the biggest gainers, 3 places made up. We're on P11 now, all the way up to P8. So I've got something in my throat, I'm very confused. We can see there Mendes, in fact, Mendes is in P9, gaining 4 positions. The joint biggest gainer of all of them, starting 13th now to P9. Mustache holding his own, P10, still in those points-paying positions. Elliott losing 3 places, as it stands for the moment. Suni and Jack Bass both making up 4 into 12th and 13th for VRA, with Chico 14th gaining 1 position from his starting grid. Spicer gaining 3, but mainly on those drivers that lost out a lot or DNF'd already in the case of T-Bay. So definitely more time to make up, I would think for Spicer, who is definitely a quick driver. He just has to hold it together sometimes. Does the Austrian there in the GSP German Sim Racing program. It's more German speaking than German, for your reference, just for your peace of mind, that an Austrian is racing for German Sim Racing program. It is mainly German speaking, so if there was any confusion, there you go. That should lift it now. Yeah, Tails in 16th, dropping 12 places, so the biggest loser of the starting phase, of course, with that collision out of turn 6. And Benelori Dennis in last. I believe also had a spin and looks to have headed into the pit lane. If I quickly go to stops, yes, he has. So let's go quickly to the tires. Everybody will be on the inters, but the rain does not look like it's easing off. So we might be in for a long evening. But it can deliver some action, so you never know. This could just be good for the stream after all. Daddlepad, so an Aston Martin 1-2 now, if you will, with Bernd Mailänder also in his Aston Martin safety car. Who's leading Daddlepad for GSP. Already picked up a podium last time round. I believe also in round 1 actually, so a very consistent performance so far as Daddlepad. And is now leading this out of Azerbaijan Grand Prix after starting from pole. Schumacher in P2, making it a German 1-2 for WR Esports then in P2. Johan in P3 for As1 Esports, the French driver for the French team. So a good look, even though he has lost that position to Schumacher at the start. I think he can be happy with this and he can definitely work on it. With, the strongest team performer so far, of course, being WR with Daviton, WRC in P4 as well, so second and fourth. So far, WR picking up 20 points. And if you see the fastest lap, which is not going to matter at all at the moment, yeah, it is helped by Daddlepad, so 17 points would be the points verdict. Sorry, 16 points for GSP. Yeah, of course, this gives us a little bit of time to, well, do a lot of things. I have unfortunately not really kept track of the Tier 2 race too much due to, of course, expecting to be on Tier 1, but we've heard, unfortunately, from Moore, who has unfortunately fallen sick, and we wouldn't want to risk the Tier 1 stream crashing on my end, so we decided well, of course it wouldn't be a good look either for if my Tier 2 stream decided to crash, but it would still not be as bad as the top tier stream. So if you want to go over and have a look at that, you can always do that at twitch.tv/CT Championship, where BRT Matteo is taking you through the action today, streamed to you by More Games, who is providing all the graphic stuff, which is great from him, really. Very good stuff from him there to still be involved in this all. And Matteo, of course, who would usually be on Tier 2. Of course, I hope to be back on Tier 1 soon, and a break week coming as well, so should be enough time, hopefully, for Moore to recover and gain his voice and confidence back for the commentary. Would certainly be great to hear, as I think the safety car will be peeling back into the pit lane very soon. Of course, a very, very long lap behind the safety car here in Azerbaijan. If we turn on the lap data very, very quickly there, 2:01 middle sector split from Daddlepad. But indeed, Bernd Mailänder is off into the pit lane. And now Daddlepad is the one directing the pace. GSP Esports, podium last time out, I believe, a podium around 1. Where can this journey go for the German team? We will find out very, very soon. Schumacher is hot on his tails, but I don't think there's going to be too much happening already into this turn 1. When will Daddlepad stamp on this throttle and get the race back underway? Weaving very, very hard, but still very much legal, very, very much in the allowed spaces. And let's have a look. When will Daddlepad decide to go? We'll be on board with Schumacher to see exactly the point where Daddlepad decides to accelerate. Now he's done it. And very, very close stuff there, it looks, between Schumacher and Johan, with a terrible camera angle. Unfortunately, Johan is to the outside of turn 1. Can he make this work? Sieve is actually to the inside of Johan himself, as a Slinky is looking to maybe get some action in there behind as well. You've got Max Power already up to P7, so he's made up a move on Grosjean, with one Elliott losing out ever so slightly. He's to the inside of GTZ Mendes. It looks like he can maybe get this move done. Careful everyone under traction, but Mendes is now one position down against Elliott. Now Mustache might be looking to go alongside the Alfa Romeo driver. We've got Chaco Bass alongside the McLaren as well, though. It's to the inside. Bit of contact being made. Hopefully no collision with the wall for Mustache. Mustache currently stays ahead. He's to the inside for turn 5. Loses that rear end massively. I think Dennis might be looking for an invitation here. This battle's going on all over the field at the moment. Elliott trying to switch back. They're on Ace Grosjean. into turn 7. If he can make this one work, that would be a fantastic move from the Ferrari. It looks like he can. It's a great move there from one Elliott. Grosjean stays on the outside, but can't stick to that position. Elliott up to P8. Great stuff from him. Max Power, again, being one of the best performers here on this restart, up to P7. Still a 5 and 6 for the moment for Juventus Racing, as they are being headed by WRC. Dadopad is absolutely gone. 3 seconds ahead of Schumacher. Is there any issue perhaps going on for the AlphaTauri man? Is this maybe a bit of a team order going on? Oh my, he's defending very, very hard, isn't he? The German driver. And he's giving Dadopad a massive, massive gap ahead. 4 seconds he's pulled out on this lap alone. And I think this might just be the invitation that Johan needs to try and make up this position. Oh, taps the wall even. But I think this could just be a hint at what happens. Oh, there's a crash. Yep, Suni is out along with Ace Grosjean. Could be another safety car, and yes, it is. As another intervention here. Lap 5 already, the second safety car. And this might just get Dadopad a little bit more stressed. He already had such a big gap after the big defense offered by Schumacher. But now that will be back to 0 again. Ace Grosjean and Suni have crashed out there at the backfield. Dennis heading into the pit lane, along with Spicer and Tails. What kind of strategy we're looking at here? Is this just a pit stop for new intermediates? Or could this be for a set of dries? I don't know. It looks like intermediates, so yeah, I have a feeling this could be a fully wet weather affected race. Heading our way here in CTC Tier 2. Tails coming up 13th, 3 places off the points. Spicer there in 14th, and Dennis rounding out the field. As it stands, his teammate Tibay already out on the first lap, and then Suni and Grosjean following him a few laps later. Oh, JR Yona has left the session. Not what you want to see. Hopefully someone in the lobby has an invite for him. I would, of course, point fingers here at Isa, who is the overall spectator for this whole session. Schumacher has got himself a drive-through penalty for speeding under safety car conditions. And that is just not what you want to see. From a driver of his caliber, he does not want to see this at all. And yeah, that will release Dadopad into lead, but now ahead of one Johan, which I don't know how happy he will be about it. But Schumacher will now have to wait until the safety car comes in to serve that drive-through penalty, go into that pit lane, lose himself a lot of time, drop to the back of the grid. And I mean, if it stays wet, then he's really got a massive task in front of him if he wants to make up any more positions. Certainly a lot of drivers in with a shot. We've got Yona, who's not in the session yet. So hopefully he can join back soon for the good of Juventus Racing. Would be a shame if he couldn't join back, because if we look at the positions, Dennis is out. He's crashed. He's crashed under the safety car. Oh my word. That is not what you want to see either. Oh my word, no. Both Benaragi drivers now out of the race. Only 14 drivers left in this field. A slight race of attrition as it is so far. 4 retirements already after 5 laps of racing. As it is Dadopad again tucked up behind that massive diffuser of Bernd Mailanders. And another lap of slow speed, tire temperature hugging, and well, perhaps confidence regaining. Well, safety car laps. I think it could actually be a relief for Dadopad that Schumacher will be peeling off into the pit lane to serve that drive-through penalty due to the known issues sometimes with his driving. But I would say qualifying is let that shine through slightly, but I haven't seen both POVs at all, so I'm not going to comment much further on this. But maybe it is a relief for some of the drivers that he will be coming from the back and trying to score good points from there, which will of course promote Johan into second, Sieb into P3, and then 4 and 5 for Juventus Racing, where Jona has thankfully joined back, so is back in control of his Alpine car, and Max Power will actually jump to P6. I mean, what a comeback performance that is so far, as he started 6th, dropped to P11 with his 5-place group penalty, and is now back up to P6 after Schumacher's drive-through penalty is served. Now, will the safety car be coming in this lap is my question. Spicer is pretty far back. He's in that castle section, but he might just join the queue in time for the safety car to peel in this lap. As you can see, they are heading into this final sector now, but there is still plenty of time for Spicer to close up to this queue. He is going pretty full send. He's not pushing all too much, but he's certainly not going slow either. But will we get another safety car lap now, or will it be coming in? I think it might just be a little too late for Bernd Mailänder to decide to come into the pit lane now. Of course, giving us an extra lap now of slow speed, tire temperature, well, driving, if you will. Now, heading into this middle sector, of course, the scene of a lot of famous moments. We've seen Daniel Ricciardo crash in qualifying in 2017, right where Daddlepad has just passed the track. Starting P10, Daniel Ricciardo then managed to win the 2017 Grand Prix in what was a crazy, crazy Grand Prix for the Formula One season. Lance Stroll, of course, getting his first podium in P3 after Valtteri Bottas just managed to pip him across the line, which was a brilliant finish after Bottas came from a lap down. But also the 2018 edition of this race, where Romain Grosjean, not far from where Daddlepad is heading now, has managed to get his car into the barrier after making up so many places in that Grand Prix, crashing himself out, which is a big, big shame for himself. As then late on that safety car restart, Sebastian Vettel trying to overtake Valtteri Bottas, who was in the lead at that point, but locking up massively into turn one, enabling Bottas to, well, have clean road home for victory, but not managing it due to a puncture, which then enabled Lewis Hamilton to win the race in front of Sergio Perez and Kimi Raikkonen. That 2018 race, of course, being very, very fondly in a lot of drivers' memories, along with 2017, but for now, it is Daddlepad who is on top. And Aston Martin leading in Azerbaijan. Where have I seen this before? Something tells me this has happened before. Spoiler, yeah, it is in 2021. With Sebastian Vettel, of course, heading that field for a few laps, staying out longer and then picking up a first podium for Aston Martin with P2 in a very chaotic race. Perez, of course, coming out on top in that race with Pierre Gasly finishing on the podium for the AlphaTauri outfit. But for now, Daddlepad, again, taking this very slow. Now he's in second gear. So he's taking it another peg slower, might be going just a tiny bit later against Schumacher, but he will have to head into the pit lane soon anyway if he wants to avoid getting disqualified. I think now he's up the pace, he's now into third gear, there's some slight overtaking there going on at the back. Schumacher in fact stays out, and I think Johan might just outrun. There's a three-wide moment there behind with Jona alongside Max Power and Elliott. Will Elliott be able to make up this position against Max Power? Ooh, big slide on the outside. I think Elliott has actually managed to get the most out of this as he goes up to P6. Sieb fighting away with Slinky. Slinky looking like he's made up the position. He's got the better run out of here. And Slinky indeed is ahead of his countryman there, fellow Dutch driver there. Slinky up into P4 while Jona has dropped down to P8. So a few gains, of course, being made for Juventus Racing, with another loss there as well at the back. Tails trying to make up the positions here for the championship leaders, and he does, up into P11. For Victor's Racing Team, just one position away for the points now, where Shako Bast is currently for VRA and trying to fight his way, in fact, against Mendes. Goes pretty deep into there, though. Red Bull might just have another bite of the cherry here. Can Tails make something out of this? The Brazilian driver is looking to the inside, but can't make anything work for the championship leaders so far. Dadopad has again held on to his lead and is again 1.7 seconds clear. He is so good in these wet conditions, it looks like. As Dadopad there, 1.8 seconds ahead of Schumacher, who still has the service drive-through. I think this might actually be looking pretty good here, with Johan now ahead of Slinky. I think Slinky would be relieved that he managed to get ahead of C, because look at how he is pushing Johan through the corners at the moment. But could this come to the detriment of his straight line speed, do you think? As Slinky into this final proper turn. Though actually the final two turns do become actual corners in the wet conditions, because they aren't just flat out like you are used to in the dry. But Slinky, he is very much struggling. He's very close to the back, though. One Elliott is also another driver who's very close to the back of Sieb. And they're now pushing the battery here, the Ferrari against the AlphaTauri. Can they make this work? Dadopad sets the fast lap again, of course. Schumacher is still not in the pit lane. Not sure what he's trying to do. He's waiting as long as he can. Sieb braking very late, a bit too late, does he? As he's now heading deep into the corner. Elliott is through. 3 and 5 now for Aswan Esports. Great move from one Elliott, making getting WR Sieb there to make a mistake and getting that position over him. Sieb can't counter-attack himself. Slinky is now looking for an attack, I think, for an avenue through on one Johan GLC. As right now, there's still nothing that the Dutch driver can make work, but it looks like he's really getting that driver to his limit. Let's see, where is Schumacher actually making up his most time? I think at the moment he has been pushing again a little bit to try and close the gap to Dadopad, to his compatriot there from Germany. Dadopad P1, Schumacher P2, but still that drive-through yet to serve. That'll hurt him. That was very close to the wall, wasn't it? 2.3 seconds the gap actually already between Schumacher and Johan there from P2 to P3. And it becomes evident who has the pace in this chasing pack at the moment. It is Slinky. 100% it is Slinky. He was pushing very hard to try and get that position. But in wet conditions, it's going to be very tough. The rain does not look like it's going away. And that certainly doesn't make the job very easy for Slinky. That might have been a tap to the wall there in turn 15. Hopefully, of course, for his sake, that was not. But yeah, it is always very possible to make mistakes. Schumacher actually has made up some more ground. 8 tenths behind. It's just a shame to see that he will have to head off to the pit lane now if he wants to avoid getting disqualified. Yes, he does indeed. And that will release Dadopad into a lead of almost 4 seconds again. 53.2. The man is setting the pace at the moment, setting those timesheets alive. Johan goes up to P3. Slinky gets into a podium position. And yeah, certainly this is a very interesting outlook for this race. Tails is actually already up to P8. So 6 and 8 for the current championship leaders. And with Schumacher down in P12 outside of the point, it's not actually looking all too bad for the VRT Esports team to perhaps even extend their championship advantage at the moment. It's just the other teams that have to look out for. Slinky is now to the inside of Johan into turn 3, and he has made it work, has the Alpine driver. It's now 1 for Dadopad, 2 for Slinky, and then 3 and 4 there for Aswan Esports. Johan in 3rd, Elliott in 4th. Let's see if there's going to be anything going on a team order perspective from all the two. As, yeah, Johan does not look to be the fastest, or it's just Slinky, who's currently so much faster than the rest. But yeah, none of those superlatives really matched Dadopad at this point in time. 5 seconds clear of the second place driver. Very impressive so far, but we're not even halfway through the race, remember? So still a lot to lose here. As Elliott, I think they might just have to get a little team swap going on here, as do the Aswan Esports team. Because look at how close Elliott is keeping to Johan. This would not lose them any points. This is a team championship, and it doesn't look like it's happening for now. So maybe they even want to protect Johan a little bit from falling into the clutches of the guys behind. Sieb there in P5 is looking very racy through this entire race, really. But what will they do? Will they be swapping? Elliott is pushing very hard here to maybe signal to his teammate that he wants this position swap. Well, you never know. Right now, it doesn't look like Johan will be letting his teammate pass. And still, Dadopad is still setting this pace. I thought maybe with Slinky getting ahead, this could be a change. And now, indeed, the swap has happened. Elliott into P3, Johan into P4. But I thought maybe now that Slinky's ahead, who looked really quick, this could be a slight turn of favours. And as you can see, Dadopad is not impressed at all. He's just keeping his job up, Currently, he's almost 6 seconds ahead is the German, and looking like a very commanding performance at this point in time. As one driver to currently try to make up those places. Tails there in P8. He's looked very, very strong after what was an unlucky first lap, dropping all the way to the back. Is now to P8, picking up 3 points as it stands for the VRT Victus Racing team. But the biggest scorer right now would, of course, be GSP, who might just be having a word in this championship fight if this stays anywhere near like this. And particularly with Schumacher currently at the back and still having to make up those places in the train, it's certainly not going to be an easy task to still be in those points-paying positions. Of course, you can see Spicer as well, who's very close to the point. And, of course, if they could get a double point to GSP, that would be very, very good luck for them. Spicer having to make up a little bit of ground for that still to happen, but I don't think it's impossible at all right now. You've got another swap there going on for the Aswan Esports team. I get a feeling that this could actually have been a mistake from One Elliott, who's dropped back behind his teammate. But Max Power is a man on the move. Could this be a signal to something here? Elliott is actually into the pit lane. Yeah, it must have been a mistake from One Elliott. Into the pits. He must have lost his wing or something. At least he's dropping down a lot and is allowing WR and VRT to gain more points in their championship challenge. Of course, a big loss for Aswan Esports. The season hasn't started off too badly, and they were in 3 and 4, so that is a big loss for them. Could have doubled their points tally almost, or even more actually, at this point in time. Now only P3, and Elliott outside of the points. Spicer now making up the position on Ace Mustache, who's got Schumacher right behind him. I think Spicer won't want Schumacher to get through, but it looks like he will. Schumacher into P10 as well. So back into the points-paying positions for WR with both cars. But Spicer into P9. It's looking good at the moment. He's definitely made up a good amount of ground after starting pretty much from the back of the grid. Nothing currently coming close to his teammate Daropal at the front. Slinky currently having a 2-second gap or so to one Johan in P3. 1 second behind that, we find WR Sieb. That run did not look all too clean, but I think he got away with that. 7 tenths behind that, we've got Max Power for Victor's Racing Team, the championship leaders there in P5. GZ Mendes finding himself in P6. A bit of a dark horse here in this top 10, but I really, really like what he's doing on this racetrack. With Tails, though, chasing him down, P7, just 4.5 tenths behind that Alfa Romeo. Chaco Bast, P8. Very good job from him so far from the French team driver. But behind that, I think, is where the most interesting battle might be kicking off. Spicer fighting against Schumacher 1. GSP against WR. Currently got GSP in the lead. But we've also got a GSP driver there fighting on the cusp of the points against one of the fastest drivers on this split. And it looks like Schumacher might just have a little run on the German. Sorry, on the Austrian driver there. Tails actually makes up the position on Mendes because he pits. Mendes into the pit lane. 5 and 6 now for Victor's Racing Team. So looking very, very good. Jacobas into P7. Schumacher is alongside Spicer. Will this be an overtake here into turn 1? Schumacher gets forced pretty wide. Not too wide though. It's very good racing going on there. Schumacher still to the outside. Spicer backs off slightly. A light tap going on there from the Austrian. But it looks like for now they've got this done properly. Spicer, of course, now this is the fight for P8 after the pit stop of Mendes. But let's see now. Will Schumacher do anything into this turn 3 braking zone? No, he will not. Spicer keeps his position for now and holds his own in P8. Currently 4 and 9 for WR Esports, 1 and 8 for GSP, 5 and 6 for VRT Esports. Chaco Bast ahead of the two, which is very, very good, I would say, for the VRA team. It just depends on the tyre life, of course. How many drivers will elect to maybe go to the end of the race on the tyres? Is this even possible? I'm not too sure myself. So I guess we're going to find out towards the end of this Grand Prix. We have seen a few pitters, though. Both GTZ drivers. We've seen One Elliott in the pit lane. So I would imagine maybe the tyre wear is just a bit too high to actually go to the end, but maybe some drivers in this field might want to prove me wrong. Some that don't have all too much to lose. As Spicer now actually closing in on that Mercedes is the Austrian driver. Jaco Bast is definitely having to look in his mirrors now. He's got two very quick drivers now coming up his rear end. That Mercedes is definitely not set in stone there in P7, though it is a very, very commendable performance now. Slinky is in the pit lane, so it does look like the drivers will be having to make a pit stop onto a new set of Inters. And yeah, this is now going to be very, very interesting. All three races so far have been weather affected, if you remember back to round 1. Completely wet affair there as well, along with round 2 in Austria. So the first stage has been completely rain affected, which is something I do not expect to see usually. So much rain in Australia, in Austria, and also in Azerbaijan. That is just extraordinary. I mean, it's formidable as well from all those drivers to see how clean they're keeping this. And Spicer is definitely profiting here from those slightly fresher intermediate tyres. And that could just be the advantage that he needs. Schumacher with a massive slide out of turn 3 keeps the car pointing just about. But my word, you won't have to won't want to have many more of these moments. Certainly not one of the calmer moments there on that throttle pedal, but he's kept it together, importantly for himself. Now I think it's going to be interesting to see how the pace differential is from Slinky on those fresh intermediates compared to the rest of the field. I don't think he'll be wanting to be in this position. Coming up to the slower drivers. Oh, Mustache been to the wall, and that has mitigated a lot of the advantage for Slinky. He had a lot of damage going on there. Oh no, this is not what you want to see. Yellow flag in the back. That is Chico, who's headed into the escape road, just missing the barrier there. And that is not good news at all for Slinky, who has had to lose a lot of time there to that McLaren, who's hit the barrier in the castle. No fault of his own, of course, but a big, big time loss for Slinky, as he's trying to make his way now up the field. He's lost a lot of time with that. Dadopad is still holding his own in the lead. Johan is in the pits. Max Power has stayed out, as we've got Hiri on the chat. Welcome, of course, cheering on his A's Esports guys, which is great to see. Jaco Bast now jumps up to P4, which is very, very good to see. Of course, VRA currently struggling. One of the only teams without points. Actually, the only team that is still in the competition, because CRD, unfortunately, have dropped out. So the only team with 0 points right now, VRA, and they find themselves in P4 with Jaco Bast, which is a great, great step for the moment. But just how long can they carry these tyres? One thing I think I have to point out as well, Dadopad, of course, leading by almost 11 seconds now, but Max Power in second, Tails in third. Brilliant stuff. As I think we've got one Elliott in the escape road. Oh no, that is a big loss. One Esports started so well here, and it's just not gone all to plan for the Ferrari guys there. Now P8 and P12, they're going to have to wait for all these pit stops to play out properly, but just how many will actually come into this pit lane? I wouldn't think Dadopad is coming in all honesty. One driver who's also not coming in my opinion, is Tails, who, actually, we do have to point this out. P2 and P3 at the moment for VRT. It is again looking like a great, great race in the making for the boys in blue. Jaco Bast, P4, holding his own against Spicer on fresher tyres, and Schumacher there in P6, of course, hounding down those two guys. We know how quick they are, but Slinky coming up behind all of them. It's going to be very, very interesting. Slinky, Johan, Sieb, Yona as well coming behind, of course. These guys are going to be closing in so quickly. And with the traction zones being so important, it could just be the difference they need. Dadopad is in fact in the pit lane, so I am wrong with that one. Dadopad will be coming in, but he's got a big gap. So I think this could actually be playing in his favor pretty well. Anybody else following in? Not at the moment. I think VRT might just be on the zero-stop strategy again here, with Max Power now in the lead. Tails in second. Dadopad will be coming out, probably behind this pack, fighting there with Jaco Bast, Spicer, and Schumacher. Actually, he's in front of them. That is absolutely perfect for him. So he has some clear air in front of him, and he's going to be trying to make up those places again on the VRT guys. Same situation as last time out in Austria. Just how will the German cope with it this time? Jaco Bast is in P4. The gap behind is only going to get bigger. Schumacher is closing in. Oh, he's hit him. He's hit him. He's lost his wing for 100%, and another collision there. What do we think of this one? Schumacher, another big collision, losing his front wing, losing Spicer a lot of time as well. Sieb goes up to P7 as a result. Johan to P6, Slinky to P5, and Shacklebast is now on his own there in P4. But I think he might get swallowed up a little bit by the guys behind. But Schumacher, not the kind of move you want to see. Sieb gets a 5-second penalty. I think that will get removed. That probably would have been for an illegal overtake in that particular yellow flag situation. So no fault of his own. I'd imagine that gets removed. But Schumacher, that is not a move you want to see. Way too late out of the slipstream. I didn't see anything really particularly unfair from Spies, and I think he actually did get away without damage as he loses his back end massively, loses the place to Jona. Did this fluster him just a little bit? I really hope for his sake that he will continue on more or less like it was nothing. But losing those places, and particularly to those fresh intermediate tire runners, is crucial for GSP Spicer, who will now be having to make up a lot of time. But a 1-2 for VRT. What a familiar sight. I'm so surprised to say this, but what a familiar sight it is so far. These boys in blue on the podium. Brilliant stuff from them. Max Power leads, but just how long will the tyres carry him? I'm just not too sure about this. Slinky makes up the position on Shacklebast. So he goes a touch deep. Actually, yeah, he hits Apex brilliantly there. Does Slinky up into P4, and he will be one to put a lot of pressure into those leading guys as well. Schumacher is into the pit lane now, of course, to change his broken front wing. Yeah, that will be looked at by the stewards, I'd imagine. That is not a good move, unfortunately, for him to make. Yeah, big shame, of course, also to Spicer, who's been doing very, very well to try and make up that position there on Shacklebast, and has been taking out of it really through no fault of his own. Schumacher now in the pit lane and coming off a pretty long way off the point, which could just prove crucial for WR Esports, who are trailing VRT as it stands by 19 points. But if it does stay at 1-2, it would be another massive loss. And, well, you could also say that VRT have absolutely aced this first stage, and they definitely have that hidden card up their sleeve. 10 laps to go, though, so let's not get ahead of ourselves here. And still watch this race play out all the way to the end. Ooh, Sieb slightly tapping the wall there. Definitely not what you want to see for the newly signed WR driver. Jona there in P8 has disconnected in between, but has joined back, thankfully, under the safety car as well, so no massive time loss there. As Midway says, Daddlepad, I believe, gets us. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. He's definitely much quicker, but it's just those wet conditions which are going to be making it super, super difficult. It's over 10 lap pressure tyres, 15 even in the case of Max Power, who's just crossing the line for P1 to start lap 18 right now. But this could just be the crucial factor. Shacklebast is now going to get swallowed up as well by Johan, who gets up into the top 5 for As1 Esports. Will Shacklebast pit? I don't think he will, actually. He's just going to stay out, try to secure however many points he can on those old tyres. But I think it's going to be a very, very tough task there. Daddlepad sets the fastest lap in between there, and I think by quite a margin as well, as you can see. The next fastest lap, about 0.3 slower by Slinky, I think, is the fastest lap I can see there. So very, very good stuff from Daddlepad. And he will be one to look out for. We can see the position change as well for the moment here. Max Power, we can actually quickly gap back to the interval. Max Power making up 10, of course, from his 5-place grid penalty up into the lead of the race. And if he holds on to this, I would be mad impressed. Yellow flag in Sector 1. Looks like Schumacher has made a slight mistake coming out of the pit lane. It looks like he will be still on his way soon. Tails making up 2 places only, but after what the start was, what those first few laps were, of course, that doesn't quite tell the whole story. So great stuff from Tails, get pretty much from the back up to second. Daddlepad losing 2, but is on the freshest tyres, so can he get back into this leading position and try to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix? We will see. Slinky making up 2 places from P6 to P4. Johan starting on the front row, currently in P5, but is still very much in with a shout to make up more places. Shacklebast pretty much from the back all the way up to P6 on his old intermediates. It just depends how much he can hold on to, which will decide the fate of his Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Sieb starting 5th is now in P7. I think he'll be pretty alright with that, to be honest. And that 5-second penalty, I would think, will get removed. Jona into P9 to P8. Good stuff from him. A solid race so far. Nothing much to say about it. Spicer from the back to P9, which is great to see, but it could have just been so much more. It's Elliott actually right on the back. Sorry, that's Mendes in that Alfa Romeo. Very close to the back of the Aston Martin. Of course, this battle wouldn't have to be without that incident there that happened with him and Schumacher. That is Mendes now to the inside of turn 1. Slight contact again being made, but Spicer holds his own on the outside. Great stuff from the Austrian to keep himself in P9 and hold on to 2 points so far for GSP. Daddlepad, look at how close he is to the back of that Red Bull. He's to the inside of turn 5. Not a place where you see a lot of moves, but it looks like he'll get the move done. That's brilliantly executed from Daddlepad, and he's dispatched of one VRT driver in brilliant fashion. Now, can he dispatch off the other as well? 4.5 seconds to catch in 7 laps of racing. I think Daddlepad's got a great chance to win the Grand Prix here. And after pitting, what an effort it would be. What a magic race, really, from the German. And would get us here back on the top step of the podium. GSP is looking very, very strong as it looks so far. And, yeah, these tyres, max power, look at them. The short shifting, you've just heard it. He was short shifting into 6th gear. And that just tells you how dead the tyres are and how much more dead they will be getting. I don't think this is actually the right strategy to be heading onto here, as I'm heading back onto the tyre detail now. Max Power having done 19 laps now on these intermediate compound tyres. I think in this final sector alone, Daddlepad has gained over a second on the Austrian driver in P1. So, very, very tough stuff here. Oh, there's contact in the back there. Mendes for that final points paying position, making contact with Spicer. So another bit of bad luck there for the Austrian. Elliott is now through as well and drops him out of the point. So, while one of the drivers fighting for the victory here, the other one has just been hit with very, very big difficulties throughout the duration of the race. P11 for Spicer, not where he would have wanted to be, as he cuts into the pit entry line as well. For his sake, of course, he'll be hoping nobody saw it. But yeah, unfortunately, it is on stream. So if anybody sees this and thinks, oh, this could be one to report, well, there you go. I've just accidentally provided you with ground to report. Apologies on that side there for GSP, but yeah, it's just unlucky, really. So yeah, Schumacher now into P11 again, edging closer to points, but he's 20 seconds down on one Elliott. I think that incident he had with Spicer was just one too many. As actually, he's been slow out of there. So Elliott is definitely not untouchable in this so far. Tails is out! Tails is out of the race in the castle. And that completely, that throws the dynamic of the race completely into the bin. As, what are we going to think of this one, chat? Completely unexpected. Nothing could have predicted that to happen. And Tails now, the championship leaders have one car down, the other car in the lead, but with completely dead tires. I think he might actually still come out in about P4 or something like that, if he does make a pit stop. Oh, big hit. Big hit in this championship by Tails. Drops, of course, down to the back of the field and becomes our 5th retirement of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Tier 2. Max Power indeed heads into the pit lane, releases Daddlepad into the lead, but the tyres really aren't that worn, so I'm feeling like Daddlepad has still got the best chance to winning this Azerbaijan Grand Prix here. Slinky in second, he's been quick, but just wasn't able to match the pace of the Aston Martin. Johan will go up to P3. Shako Bast has actually stayed out and will be trying to hold on to whatever he can hold on to, really. He's going to be up into P5 and on 20 lap hold intermediate. Is that the right decision from the Mercedes driver? One thing's for sure, he's going to be a big cork in the bottle there. Mendes goes up to P6. So a very quiet performer here, still back into P6. I think it's been a great race again from Mendes, who's really showing his prowess here. Jona there in P7. Sivas now has just served his 5-second penalty, so of course no removal happening there anymore. But I think he will be holding on to at least P8 now. Schumacher, in fact, is also now back into the points with all of that happening. Spicer is in P10 now. but he'll be one of the more unhappy ones there out of all that. Elliott in P11 with fresh intermediates. Mustache just coming in out of the pit lane actually for the A's team there in P12. And Chico just coming into the pits to get a new set of intermediates on. He might as well, as he's right at the back. He's definitely got some inters left as well. And a new set is coming onto the Alfa Romeo. And I would imagine we get about 3 or 4 more laps of racing. And just, is that going to be enough for these drivers on fresh tyres to make up the ground? And just how much, I would ask almost, how much is Daropad going to be able to pressurize the field into going as fast as possible and then maybe even getting them to make mistakes? So far, he's looked untouchable in these conditions. He's overtaken Tails, who's unfortunately crashed out later on in the stint. But he has overtaken him. He was on his way to get Max Power for the lead of the race as well. And I think Max Power does have a very, very good chance of still ending up on the podium here. But just how much of a difference are the tyres really going to make in this situation with about 3 or 4 laps to go? As I said, of course, 5 laps to go once Daropad crosses the line here for lap 22. And still a fair bit of ground to make up for the McLaren at the back. Actually, for the Alfa Romeo at the back of GTZ Chico. Yeah, GTZ with a very good performer there in Mendes in P6, holding on to that train at the front and still being able to get that position maybe off Jacques Bass on now 21 lap hold intermediates. Look at the state of those things. I mean, in real life, you would be talking about interslicks at this point. They are completely gone. And if we looked at the grip of Max Power before he pitted in, it looked very, very similar to this with a very, very early short shift. He can be lucky, I'd say, to come out ahead of Jacques Albast here. So he's not having to make that ground up. Normally, I'd say in dry conditions, now Max Power would have the best shot at winning, but not anymore. Of course, these are intermediate conditions. So very, very difficult for all these drivers to pick out their moves. And I think some of the ones who are currently a bit further down might be rubbing their hands as well, because the real approaches will either be pushing to the limit, trying the most to get a lot of positions done. But that could lead to collisions, to mistakes in general. As I have actually experienced myself in the Aston Martin in what was an installment of our own championship. Going up from P11 to P5 in just I think a total of 5 laps, just right at the end of the race. So it is very, very possible, also from my own racing experience, to make up a lot of ground in intermediate conditions on a late safety car restart at Baku. I know I've just been very specific, but I think it was necessary to point out, as yeah, the possibilities are big. The chances are definitely there for drivers to make up places. But how will they take those opportunities? Will they be able to execute everything cleanly? Or is there going to be more drama yet to be had in this Azerbaijan Grand Prix? Of course, our 3rd safety car already. So, yeah, it is definitely a very, very tough situation for all these drivers to be in. And due to Chico, who's still being at the back, we will be getting another safety car lap. Steve is actually... he's got a little bit of drama going on with his teammate. I don't think this is what they all want to see. Yeah, Schumacher will be getting a 5-second penalty, I think. From looking at how he's slowing down, what way he's slowing down to try and get Spicer to overtake him, it's going to be Schumacher with a 5-second penalty soon. I wish I could give you a countdown, but I think it's happening. Looks like they have escaped it. For the moment, still very, very interesting stuff's going on here. Chico is about to get touch with the back of the field, meaning we will indeed get 3 more laps of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix under racing speed. This is going to be a sprint. Unlike, of course, Lewis Hamilton's own comments, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Well, this is most definitely a sprint now. 3 more laps only. And, oh, this is going to be tense. about to head into the final sector. 3 more laps to go. Who is going to be coming out on top in this Azerbaijan Grand Prix? It looks like the VRT supremacy might be toppled for just a race. But at the same time, Max Power, with the freshest tyres in that front fight, he is definitely not out of this. It's going to be very, very difficult, but he's not out of the fight at all. The man who finished second in the first race of the season. The man who is definitely one to be looking out for. And what a